WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and welcome to Newslink, live on West Africa for Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and around the world at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. Senegalese Prime Minister addresses a National Assembly on trending issues including homosexuality.
Anyone who commits an unnatural act shall be punished by imprisonment for 5 to 10 years and a fine of 2 million to 10 million francs.
A court in Burkina Faso sentences magistrates and customs officers for corruption and other offenses. Nigerian President Tinubu reaffirms his administration's commitment to tackling insecurity nationwide.
What I promise you is not to be postponed. We will establish state police to combat the insecurity.
And preparations underway in Cote d'Ivoire for the 5th edition of a flintlock military exercise. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Augustine Bill Coley.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We begin in Senegal as Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko addressed the National Assembly today at a section dedicated to current affairs issues in the country. Central to the parliamentary debate was the issue of student grants and detention in universities following the death of student Abdoulaye Ba during recent clashes with police at UCAT. The Prime Minister also spoke about the recent adoption of a bill criminalizing unnatural acts, including homosexuality. This issue comes amid recent events in which the Senegalese gendarmerie dismantled a network of homosexuals and arrested several individuals who were also involved in the transmission of HIV across the country. Imo Edit completes the story.
In this latest question and answer session, the Senegalese Prime Minister addressed the recent university crisis. Ousmane Sonko acknowledged ordering the police to maintain order at Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar. However, he expressed regret over the death of the student, Abdoulaye Ba, and promised that the truth will be uncovered.
I did indeed give instructions to the police, but I do not condone the disproportionate use of force. I regret the violence that occurred and the student's death. An investigation was immediately launched, and I assure you that all necessary measures are being taken to determine responsibility.
Another point addressed was the criminalization of homosexuality. In recent days, dozens of people have been arrested in connection with an alleged case of unnatural acts. A bill has been passed to increase the penalties for these acts. While the criminal nature of the offense remains, the prescribed sentences are more severe. Ousmane Sonko speaks again.
Anyone who commits an unnatural act shall be punished by imprisonment for 5 to 10 years and a fine of 2 million to 10 million francs. Anyone who advocates an act shall be punished by imprisonment to 3 to 7 years. Anyone who finances or supports a person, group, or activity seeking to promote or glorify homosexuality shall be punished by the penalties provided for in paragraph 5 of this article.
The Senegalese Prime Minister also spoke about the situation of the 18 Senegalese supporters detained in Morocco following the violence during the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations final. The Prime Minister indicated that this government is working on several measures, including a request for their transfer to allow these Senegalese nationals serve their sentences in their home country.
Imo edified that report. In Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu is urging state governors to prioritize policies that protect and empower the less privileged citizens. The Nigerian leader also reaffirms his administration's commitment to tackling insecurity nationwide. WDR's Abuja correspondent Yechenu Sasetu reports.
Addressing state executives, President Tinubu stressed that leadership at all levels must remain attentive to the needs of vulnerable citizens, particularly amid economic reforms and rising living costs. He called on governors to design and implement programs that directly support low-income households, expand access to opportunities, and strengthen social protection systems.
We've seen progress. We've seen commitment to duty. But please, I appeal again, let's go further to embrace the downtrodden, the young ones, and all the supporters, all encompassing, and let's spread the development opportunity across to the grassroots.
The president noted that inclusive development requires collaboration between federal and state governments to ensure economic growth translates into improved livelihoods for ordinary Nigerians. He also reaffirmed his administration's determination to confront insecurity, assuring that ongoing security operations and strategic reforms will continue until lasting stability is achieved.
What I promise you is not to be postponed. We will establish state police to combat the insecurity.
Analysts say the dual message of social protection and security reflects the administration's attempt to balance economic reforms with public safety as citizens continue to demand improvements in both living standards and national security. For WADR, Yechenu Sasetu in Abuja.
Let's now take you to Cote d'Ivoire, where preparations are underway for the 5th edition of the Flintlock military exercise. Representatives from more than 30 nations, including the United States, Benin, Cameroon, and Italy, are gathered in Abidjan to prepare for this military cooperation. Organized by the U.S. Africa Command, it is considered the largest annual gathering of special operation forces in Africa. Christopher Aticho gives the details.
From February 23 to 26, Ivorian and American representatives, along with delegates from more than 30 African nations and partners, will finalize preparations for the 5th edition of the largest U.S. Special Forces military exercise in Africa. The exercise, scheduled for April, will mobilize more than 1,500 participants deployed in 2 theaters of operation, including Cote d'Ivoire and, for the first time, Libya. However, beyond the technical and logistical aspects, this preparatory meeting has major strategic significance. The goal is to align doctrines, harmonize procedures, and design a common training scenario capable of responding to the evolving and increasing complex security threats on the continent. In this regard, Brigadier General Lopoe Tibebi, commander of Ivorian Special Operations, emphasized the fundamental purpose of this cooperation, which in his view is to strengthen trust between partners, improve the flow of information, and harmonize information processing procedures. By hosting this key phase of Flintlock 2026, Cote d'Ivoire confirms its position as a central player in regional security, in a context where the stability of the continent remains more crucial than ever.
Christopher Aticho with the details of a report from our Abidjan correspondent Marcel Aristomble.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Now, the Gambian Armed Forces has dismissed reports linking one of its senior officers to a counterfeit currency investigation in Senegal. In a statement issued this Tuesday, the military said there is no serving colonel within its ranks bearing the surname mentioned in the report. It adds that preliminary checks suggest the case may involve impersonation. From Banjul, Sandona Mendy reports.
The Gambia Armed Forces says it has conducted an internal verification following reports of the arrest of a purported Gambian military colonel with a surname Mane in Senegal. According to the statement, there is currently no serving officer at the rank of colonel with that surname in the Gambian military. The Armed Forces clarifies that within the closest equivalent rank category, there are 3 lieutenant colonels named Mane, and all are presently in the country carrying out their official duties. It maintained that early findings indicate the incident may be a case of impersonation. The Army says it has initiated immediate contact and verification procedures both locally and with authorities in Senegal to establish the full facts surrounding the alleged counterfeit currency investigation. The statement notes that cooperation is ongoing between the two sides. However, the Gambian Armed Forces also expresses concern about what it described as the circulation of unverified information, warning that such reports could mislead the public and undermine confidence in state institutions. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Still on security issues, the Liberian government has dissolved a group calling itself the National Fuller Security of Liberia following security concerns that emerged in recent weeks. The Ministry of Justice announced the decision after determining that the group lacks the necessary legal authorization, including registration or licensing, to operate a security or paramilitary organization under Liberian law. These action comes amid public outcry that sparked by live video and social media posts showing the group conducting training exercises and recruiting personnel. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Ibrahim Parker reports.
Many Liberians are expressing fears that the National Fuller Security of Liberia, perceived as a tribal militia, could pose a significant security threat to the nation. Calls have emerged for the government to disband the group and to ensure safety of all citizens and the stability of the country.
Let's stop things that will divide us as Liberians. We got enough healing to deal with. Today we got towns that have massacres all based on that tribe, on the fact that some group people formed tribal militias and went around causing for nothing chaos.
Why organizers claim the group was established in 2012 to protect Muslims during late-night Ramadan prayers, the Ministry of Justice says it has found no record of the organization's registration with relevant government agencies. However, a member of the National Legislature, Representative Yeke Koluba, is defending the group's existence.
I give them advice. You look for uniform, give it to the poor, let them be identified for tomorrow's sake. When the poor having a Ramadan, people go to the mosque, terrorize the people, take the poor food. Who's going to provide security for them? The poor security business is in the best interest to help the national security.
The Ministry of Justice warns that any continued recruitment or promotion by the NFSL will be considered a violation of national law, leading to criminal and administrative penalties. However, the Inspector General of the Liberia National Police, including the National Security Agency and the Minister of Justice, have been summoned by the House of Representatives to appear this Tuesday and provide further insight into the matter. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Now to judicial matters in Burkina Faso. The High Court of Kupila delivered its verdict on Tuesday in a corruption case involving judicial actors and customs officers. Of the 10 defendants, 3 were acquitted outright, while others received prison sentences and substantial fines. The magistrates and customs agents were prosecuted for corruption, money laundering, removal of procedural documents, and other related offenses. Abdullahi Hassan completes the story.
Among the defendants, Magistrate Jean-Jacques Van Pangawe-Drago was acquitted of charges related to bribing public officials, withholding procedural documents, and money laundering. Customs officers said Traore was also acquitted due to reasonable doubt regarding charges of corruption and money laundering. However, several other defendants received convictions, including customs officer Umaru Yamiogo, who was sentenced to 15 months in prison with 2 months suspended and fined 3 million CFA francs for bribing a public official. Magistrate Anyatiza Obain Meda and Sandaogo Antoine Kabore were each sentenced to 15 months in prison with 2 months suspended and fined 5 million CFA francs each for corruption of a public official and complicity in corruption. The most severe sentence was given to Magistrate Alban Balone Some, who was sentenced to 36 months in prison, including 18 months of mandatory imprisonment, and fined 5 million CFA francs for corruption of a public official and illegal disclosure of the identity of a protected witness. The case concerns alleged acts of accepting or offering financial benefits to influence judicial decisions, particularly in the case of public prosecutor and 11 others. The amounts involved reportedly range from 7 million CFA francs to $75,000 according to the case file.
Abdullahi Hassan with that report. You are listening to Newslink live on West Africa, Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar and around the world at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese Prime Minister Sonko addresses National Assembly on trending issues, including homosexuality. A court in Burkina Faso sentences magistrates and customs officers for corruption and other related offenses. Nigerian President Tinubu reaffirms his administration's commitment to tackling insecurity nationwide. And preparations underway in Cote d'Ivoire for the 5th edition of the Flintlock military exercise. Still ahead in the news, we have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for being with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Let's take you to Guinea, where a new development occurred in the second phase of the trial related to the September 28, 2009 stadium massacre. On Monday, the Vixen Criminal Court overturned the committal orders against Colonel Jean-Louis Pogumu, Georges Olumun, and Chief Warrant Officer Thomas Swaro, ordering their immediate release. While the defense welcomed this decision, describing it as a victory for the law and due process, the lawyers representing the civil parties criticized it as a setback for the victims and an obstacle to pursuit of truth. Sankule Janko tells us more in this report.
In its ruling, the Dixon Court relied on Supreme Court rulings 08 and 09, as well as the decision of the Second Chamber of Investigating Court, which had declared the proceedings null and void. For the Defense Counsel, Mayor David Bevogui, this decision upholds the strict application of the rule of law and puts an end to proceedings deemed irregular.
After 4 years of arbitrary detention, our clients have been released unconditionally. This is a victory for the entire Guinean justice system over injustice. The trial is over.
However, the civil parties strongly contested the decision. The victims' lawyers denounce an annulment which, according to them, undermines the pursuit of justice in this case. Attorney Bernard Sadisi Milimono is a member of the civil party.
The court failed to ensure a fair balance between the parties. It did not address the arguments presented by the plaintiffs, reportedly agreed with the arguments put forward by the prosecution, but this never happened.
This decision marks a turning point in this trial. The public prosecutor's office has not yet commented, but the proceedings suggested that it could appeal in the coming days.
A report from Channel Alpha Ibrahim Mbalde in Conakry, voiced by Sankule Janko. Meanwhile, the Malian government's decision to prioritize locally produced goods is generating optimism among various national companies. Under this new measure, each ministry will be required to allocate 100 million CFA francs in its 2026 budget for the purchase of local products. According to the authorities, the initiative could enhance national production and provide support to small and medium-sized enterprises. Ramatul Sidabi, the founder of Rama Production, a company specializing in processing local fruits into natural beverages, as well as Hamadou Togol, manager of Zaban Holding Company, expressed delight about the measure.
This is a timely decision that encourages local productivity, especially for us young graduates who have completed training programs. It will have a positive impact. Above all, we can't continue producing the same quantities. If there is demand, we are forced to rely on others, and this creates jobs. Even the transportation and delivery services we are activating will be a win-win opportunity. Let's consume Malian means we accept our own challenge.
All the raw materials we use come from rural areas. Producing locally means contributing to the development of these rural areas. The men and women who lack access to certain things, like education and everything else. So, producing locally is truly about supporting all these people to get out of their predicaments.
Some Malian producers reacting to the government's measure to promote local produce in
politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, our guest interview focuses on Liberia, where the government has dissolved a group calling itself the National Fuller Security of Liberia following security concerns that emerged in recent weeks. The Ministry of Justice announced a decision after determining that the group lacks the necessary legal authorization. Our guest is Sam Sion, a regional security expert from Liberia, who weighs in on the matter.
The issue is trending in Liberia, and as a result of that, the citizens are concerned. They've been raising alarm. You know, in the African proverb, they say when the snake bites you, you see the tail of a laser. You get frightened about it. You will run. There's no joke, no play, according to them, in the snake mouth. So this security situation where the alarm is being raised all across Liberia, that there is a fuller national security. From our own investigation, there are groups in Liberia, particularly in Monrovia. This group, they serve at the very Masjid. Masjid is a mosque where Muslims pray. This group serves to these places during Friday prayer or during Ramadan nighttime prayer. So quite recently, one of the group members passed away according to our own investigation. And that member funeral was held at that fish market mosque. And there we saw a line formation of this group standing out there, and some video and photograph were taken from that ceremony. It started making lead on the internet with the title there, the Fuller National Security or something. This is alarming. The name is scary.
Major concerns are around the illegal operation of said group and, quote unquote, the tribal sentiment being placed on it. What do you make of such nomenclature when Liberia has about 16 tribes? What does it mean for the security of the state?
That is the alarming aspect of this whole conversation, having a group calling themselves a national security for a particular group. So the title, the nomenclature, is what creating the sentiment around the country. So you have a fuller national security. And not only that, the scary part for the citizen is they see them wearing these paramilitary attire. They got these khaki and other uniforms. That is the frightening part for the citizens. So if this group, because from our investigation, there's no document on file that there's any company, any organization registered in Liberia called the Fuller National Security. No documentation on hand, nothing. So the citizen right to alarm is okay. This is how it tells you the citizens of Liberia are on the higher state of alert, digging from our past.
What threat does such a paramilitary group or tribal group pose to the national security of the state?
Syria, if it was a real group organized under the name of Fuller National Security, it poses a serious threat to the entire country, not only to all the security sector, because that would be something strange, having the organization named after a particular group as a national security. Under the laws of Liberia, no one individual, no tribes, no organization have the right to form their own security with the intent of providing protection for its people. The state has full responsibility to provide security for everyone that resides within our territorial confines.
In this contest, the Liberian House of Representatives has summoned the Minister of Justice, the Inspector General of the Liberia National Police, and the National Security Agency of Liberia to appear before its plenary and explain the existence of this group, whether legal or illegal, and its implication on the national security of Liberia. What outcome do you think might come out of this summon by the House of Representatives?
Well, that is a great move by the representative because they have oversight, and that's some of their oversight responsibilities. But in my opinion, it's the right thing to do. So the government responsibility is to do fact check, find out who, why, when, and how. Once these questions are answered, apparently the issue will be put to rest. But they are investigating because I'm sure they're not just inviting the security bride to just tell them why they want to know whether there's some actuality in this thing. Because in security sector, if you do a threat analysis and look at your own vulnerability, if the threat level reduction require you taking certain action, certain measure that will reduce the threat level, of course you got to do that because when the threat level is high, it made the country very vulnerable.
Sam Sion is a regional security expert from Liberia. And in the world of sports, the West African Football Union Zone A, WAFU A, has unveiled an ambitious 6 competition calendar for 2026, highlighted by the return of the historic Amical Cabra Cup, which will be hosted by Guinea from the 15th to the 30th of August this year. The announcement confirms a packed year of youth, women's and senior competitions across 6 countries in the sub-region, reinforcing WAFU A's commitment to developing local football and strengthening regional integration. Once a flagship competition in West African football, the tournament had been dormant for several years. Its reinstatement is seen as a major step in revitalizing competition for locally based players. Guinea has been entrusted with hosting the 2026 edition, which will bring together all 9 WAFU A member nations: Cape Verde, the Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Senegal, and Sierra Leone. WAFU A Executive Director Mapathi Gay described the competition as central to the region's football identity. And that's the latest in the world of sports. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink, live on West Africa, Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Maudo Juf for the technical support. To interact with us via our social media platforms, including X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Augustine Curley. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy